7 plus 1 will be 8. No, we have it. Hello.
Hello there.
Is that a kitty door?
Must be smarter than that. Oh, there's a latch. Apparently not. Upgraded security.
Meeting of the Des Moines Park and Recreation Board will come to order, please. Rebecca, would you call the roll, please?
Galloway.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Koenig-VandeHaar.
Here.
Noland.
Here.
Cahill.
Here.
Krumrey.
Here.
George.
Here.
Feltner.
Here.
Chen.
Here.
We have a quorum. Next, let's talk about the agenda. John has indicated he needs to take off at around 6 o'clock or so, so I was going to suggest moving the voting up after we do the minutes. In other words, we'll do the Youth Advisory Board first. We don't want to keep them waiting, then do the minutes, and then do the voting items A, B, C, D, E. Is that okay with everybody?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amended agenda is approved. Next, Cyndi, will you introduce the Youth Advisory Board participants to us, please?
It's my honor to introduce the two members from the Youth Advisory Board, Sammy and Kylie.
Hi. As Cyndi said, I'm Kylie Calajuri, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Youth Advisory Board.
And I'm Sammy Olson, and I am a community rep for the First Tee of Greater Des Moines.
So we're just here to talk to you a little bit about what the Youth Advisory Board is. We are a youth-run organization board through the city that tries to get the youth involved in the community in a positive and appropriate way. We currently have 3 positions open for students out of our 15-member student board. We also have 7 adult members. Our open positions are for 1 student from Hoover, East, and North. This is our mission.
The mission of the City of Des Moines Youth Advisory Board is to provide youth with a voice to affect policies and develop leadership through civic engagement, service, and events.
Yeah, so based on that, we have some events to fulfill our mission that are coming up.
We have 2 possible events that haven't really been set in stone yet. We are trying to organize a day to go to one of the hospitals downtown to have like a children's day. We were originally going to try for a Halloween themed day, but it's kind of come and gone to plan that. And so our next goal would hopefully be to do a Thanksgiving, but it's very hard to get into the hospitals downtown. So we're still trying to work around that, and it might end up being later in the year or next year. Another possible event is going to be this winter. Our events committee or subcommittee is in charge of that, and we're discussing doing a laser tag event somewhere downtown with all of the Des Moines youth community, and sort of a party, I guess, just for everyone. And then one for sure event that we have set is on December 17th at Franklin Library. And it is an event called Green My Parents. And its goal is to get children and their parents involved in the green movement, especially in their own houses. It was actually a book written by a young man and is now become this whole movement. There's a blog, if you look online, on Green My Parents. And we're just trying to bring that to the children of Des Moines.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about us. Yeah.
Question?
Yeah, questions.
How many people are on the Youth Advisory Board?
We have the capacity to hold 15 youth members and 7 adult members. We have all our adult members filled, but we have 3 open positions for students from East, North, and Hoover.
Oh, you're looking for somebody from Hoover?
Yes. So if you know anyone, please send them our way, because we've been trying to get East, North, and Hoover. We've put up posters at some of the local dolls and stuff like that, but we're both from Dowling, actually, and so we've been trying to expand our reaches to the other schools, so we need some help.
Okay, well, I'll send an email to the Hoover principal. I know him.
Oh,
That'd be
thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Does anybody know the principals at the other schools? Or have a contact there where they could?
I know.
And the other things, those youth are also assigned duties. They go to different city boards and commissions, then bring the information back to their monthly meeting.
Great, fantastic.
And so this is the first Park and Rec board meeting I've been to, but
Yep.
I will come in the future.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be your last. Come anytime you want.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much.
Well, thank you for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, and thank you, Cyndi, for helping to arrange that and for your work on the board. Okay, next, let's talk about the minutes of the September 27th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any changes, comments, questions, additions, corrections to the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of September 27th are approved. Next, as we discussed, we'll jump into the voting. We'll go to item A for board action regarding the Ingersoll Park Trail. We had received a file on that a month ago. Is there any kind of staff presentation on this?
No staff presentation, but Mindy Moore is here for questions.
Okay, to start things off, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? Everybody's happy with it? Are we ready to vote? Okay, Rebecca, would you call the roll, please?
Galloway.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Gelb.
Yes.
Koenig-VandeHaar.
Yes.
Noland.
Yes.
Cahill.
Yes.
Krumrey.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Feltner.
Yes.
Chen.
Yes.
It is approved. Next, we'll move on to item B for board action regarding the mission statement. And this one probably will not go as fast as the last item. Not only are we deciding on the mission statement, but we have to decide exactly how we're going to procedurally proceed here. It's not a yes or a no because there's 5 different choices. Well, why don't we let Jen tell us what the choices are, and then we'll figure out what to do.
Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Jen Fletcher, Marketing Supervisor, Park and Marketing, Des Moines Park and Recreation, sorry. 1 second while I get this figured out. There we go. Okay. Last month's meeting, you were presented with the 4 options that you kind of see here. As per your recommendation, we took those, made the revisions that we discussed. Those were in your packet. Also, as per your recommendation, the marketing committee, most of them, or representatives of them, came up with the option number 5 that you see here, and that was also in your packet. So, again, not quite sure how you want to do this. If you want to kind of take a look at those and vote on the one you like the most, if you kind of want to say, no, I didn't like that one, we don't want to vote on it. We did send this out to our staff for voting, and I can tell you unequivocally that option number 1 got 0 votes. So if you want to not vote on that one as well, we can just throw that out the window. So.
Joe, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was supposed to be bumper sticker levy.
Yes.
And number 5 is going to be a really long bumper sticker.
It's a little bigger than the other ones, yes.
Yeah.
Here's kind of the thought too, if I can just jump in a little bit. I think it's important to keep in mind that there's 2 different things here. A mission statement is not like your tagline or logo, so I don't think that this is something the general public would necessarily see. It's more of a guiding principle for the staff more than it is like you're going to see a brochure with Parks and Rec and this tagline. So it's not as important to be bumper sticker friendly. That being said, I think number 5 is probably the most generic of them all, if the staff is okay with generic. Number 4 is probably the easiest as far as here's 3 bullet points that you're kind of driven by in your day-to-day operation. That's kind of the point of a mission statement is, in my opinion at least, just how are we supposed to, what are some guiding principles, I guess. So again, if it's too wordy and you'll never remember it, then what's the point of having a mission statement? So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I'm sorry, I was under the assumption that it was supposed to be really succinct and to the point, not so much as a mission statement, but more as a thing.
Trade shows would be.
That's okay.
That is.
Yeah, but it can still be succinct and to the point. I think that's important too. That's a good point.
Suzette?
Joe, well, I wasn't on any earlier discussion, but when I looked at these and I looked at the first 4, they're like slogans to me. They aren't a mission statement, and I really liked number 5. I thought it said what we're about, and I find some of the wording troublesome. I hate to have people do double entendres or whatever with wording that's in, some of the slogans. So some of them I didn't like the wording, but I like number 5 as a mission statement.
Well, what ones,
2 and 4 are the ones you're talking about with the double entendre.
Yeah.
Joe?
go ahead.
Yes, I liked number 3, if you want a short one, because again, it gave kind of what we're trying to do, get people healthy, have them have fun at parks, and green Des Moines. And I like that double entendre, that
And
one park at a time, and I like the word park in it.
And again, those were the 2 elements we tried to incorporate in every version were, the health and the green space, the environment.
And you do the same thing, although in 5, it doesn't have anything about parks, and I think while it's absolutely what we do, a lot of others are involved in that as well, and I like it more specific to parks. So
I think that's a good point.
I think 3 is specifically honed to park. 5 is the same thing, only it's more a more generalized way of saying it. So
Could be anybody's.
yeah, it could be anybody's. Yeah. It could be public education. It could be anybody's. So I just like number 3.
I wasn't involved in the previous discussion, and when I read this, I was confused. Are we talking about this mission statements, or are we talking about taglines? That's the first comment. The second comment is keep in mind that the mission statements, when people see it, they got to know what our business is. Besides that, that's what in the past, based on my experience, that whatever you do, you got to be able to really align with your mission statement. And even your budget items, the activities, the programs, you got to be able to really align back to, in line with your mission statement or our mission statement. So looking into this, I probably only 3 and 5, their mission can be applied as a mission statement because they're talking about how we do it. I don't like the number 5 is use creating a healthy, like we don't have the community, healthy community. We have to start from scratch.
Marian?
Well, I missed the previous conversation as well. And I would have to say of the 5, I like the 5th one the best. And of course, I wordsmithed it slightly just to shorten it a bit to health and sustainability through education and recreation. And to me, that embodies more of what the Parks Department does and conveys to me what it does much more clearly than any of the other 4. And appreciating it doesn't have the word park in it, although it does have recreation as part of it. I think we have to recognize that we're going to see this mission statement within the context of a park brochure or a park document or something like that. So it's going to be identified with the Parks Department. And then I really think the health, the sustainability, education, and recreation are all really key elements of what the Park Department does. So I would vote for some version of number 5, personally.
Joe, do we know which one the staff liked best?
Go ahead.
We asked the staff to respond. We received about 25 or 30 responses out of the 97 employees. 1 and 2 had no votes, and 3, 4, and 5 were about equally split. And they're still coming in, and it's kind of going up and down every day a little bit, but there's a split that's fairly equal on 3, 4, and 5, with 1 and 2 not having a vote from anybody.
Any other discussion or questions?
Do we really have to vote tonight?
Well, let's talk about how to proceed here.
I don't want to drag this on.
First, I wanted to let everybody say whatever they wanted to say, generally speaking, before we got into how we make a pick. But
Joe, if I might, I probably should have done one other thing to follow up on your question. I did ask the management team, and the management team picked 4.
So, just to throw an idea out there, and if you don't like this idea, we don't have to do it, but I thought maybe we could kind of do a straw poll, go through one at a time, and like, who's all in favor of number 1, raise your hand, and so on and so forth. Then when we've informally picked the one with the most votes, then if we want to do any wordsmithing or tweaking to that one, then we can cross that bridge at that time. Whereas if we wordsmith, all 5 of them, we'll be here all night, which is kind of a waste of time if some of those are not going to be finalists.
Sounds like 1 and 2 we can almost eliminate anyway. Nobody seems to be supporting them. Just do 3, 4, and 5.
So, what do you think? Should we just take a straw poll, find out where things stand first? And this isn't a final vote. This is just sort of a straw poll. I guess juries sometimes they'll take informal votes just to kind of see where everybody is without actually being the official vote yet. Okay, number 1. Anybody in favor of number 1? Raise your hand or say something.
I feel bad for it.
It got no love anywhere.
Okay, it's 1 sympathy vote. Okay. Number 2.
It's good.
Raise your hand or say something. Okay, number 3. Okay,
Do we only get 1 vote?
Yeah,
Draw. 1 vote only.
keep your hands up. I'm kind of slow here.
I think there's 4, Joe. I get 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? 4 votes for number 3? Okay, number 4. Keep your hand up. Okay, 1, 2, is that right? 2? Number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, is that right?
I actually kind of like 5 with your changed recommendation,
Yeah, I was going to say it was shortened 5.
if you were to do 5.
But he just voted 3 times. He can't do that.
Let's see, do we have 10 people here? 1, 2, 3, 4,
4, 4, 2.
5.
Keep everybody happy then.
Yes, okay. So we have 10 votes, okay. 3 and 5 are tied with 4 votes each. Number 4 has 2 votes each. So it looks to me like we have two finalists, 3 and 5. Then they're tied, so let's talk about 3 and 5.
Just have a runoff vote.
Or do we
Can you say yours again? Could I propose a possible amendment to number 5? Again, more slowly this time?
Well, see, do we want to tweak it now or wait till it's...
Oh, okay.
Well, no, you can't vote until you know what it says.
Yeah, true. I like
All right, so what changes are we making to this one?
I said health and sustainability through education and recreation.
Through, just, we're punting education?
No, I said through.
Through education and recreation, okay.
And recreation, yeah.
And yeah, I apologize in advance for my handwriting.
Okay, Marian has proposed a revision to number 5. There's 3 other people that voted for number 5. What are your views about that? I didn't write down who voted.
And are we voting, like, as this is going to be it, or is this more of just our recommendation and it's up to the staff to decide? I would think this is kind of, since it's, again, staff's guiding principles, it would be, their decision would have more weight on it than the board.
Well, this says for board action.
My thoughts, but-
What do you think, Don?
I think we've concluded that you ought to make the final decision on this. We've given you feedback and asked our staff, and it's a policy direction, and I think most of the management team is here. 3 and 5, we can live with either one of those. Anybody have any comment? Any of you?
I did.
Jen, what do you think?
They haven't seen this version of 5, though. I mean,
The staff?
yeah.
The other staff, although I'm going to jump in and say, I think the ones that voted for that, recreation was a word they wanted to see in the title. So I think
I mean, I know it's splitting hairs,
health and
but
sustainability. Yeah, I don't know.
Like the big long word.
it is very long.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I did have one question, and it goes back to the bumper sticker. I guess we're not clear as a board on what is this for? Is it to guide the staff, or is it something that the public can react to? Because I think that number 5 is a lot more staff-oriented and guiding, whereas the get healthier, happier, and greener one park at a time is more for a logo.
No, this would be an internal.
So
No.
this is internal.
Right.
Oh, so this is not,
No, the whole slogan tagline thing, that'll be a whole nother vote.
oh, God.
Or more, I know. That's a whole, no, that's a marketing plan that'll be put together.
I thought when we looked at this the first time, that it was short, succinct, bumper sticker, logo type thought. And so now I have to shift gears, which I can do, but look to mission statement as that's a whole different thought process than just.
Do you have those words you read the last time with you that
No,
explain?
I don't.
Well,
I mean, it was clearly, we tried to set the table here by saying that the mission statement should reflect
Our purpose, our existence, our reason for living.
our
you know,
purpose, our existence, our reason for doing.
And you should be able to walk up to any member of our staff driving down the street, and they should be able
They
to
should say,
spew this.
I'm doing what
right back
I'm
at-
doing because,
I'm helping Des Moines get healthier, happier, greener. I'm helping Des Moines do health and sustainability through education and recreation. I mean, that's the point. That's why we're here.
But doesn't the logo then have to sort of follow this? I mean, won't it be part of this?
The logo and this are separate. The logo is what Don has on his shirt.
No, but I mean a verbal.
Tagline.
The tagline, the slogan, yeah. Think of it this way. When you go to Hy-Vee, a helpful smile in every aisle. That's their slogan, that's their tagline. Their mission, and I have one of the business cards from a gentleman at Hy-Vee. Their mission is completely different. It's three little, I wish I had a copy of it. It's in my folder, which I didn't bring because I thought we were past that, sorry. It's completely different. It's not a helpful smile in every aisle. It's our customers are this or that. It's not a helpful smile in every aisle. It's different. So it's completely muddy the waters.
We want our staff to be excited about the job that they have to do because of whatever you decide here tonight. That's the bottom line.
Be honest, I'm confused of what we are doing.
What about this motion, and I'll withdraw it if you want it withdrawn. But I move that the park board decide to let the staff choose between number 3 and number 5 for their internal mission statement. And then the staff vote can decide it.
With Marian's revision?
I'll second your motion.
With Marian's revision, because if it's an internal piece that's supposed to excite them,
then they have to have ownership of that rather than just having us give them something.
Kind of my thoughts too. And I mean, I don't think it would hurt if we, said here's which one we liked and they can consider that, but ultimately it's their call.
Great. I really think we really appreciate that.
Okay.
It's sustainability.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Oh, you got a second.
Yeah, Suzette?
I second.
Yeah. George?
The word green, are we assuming that this is going to become part of the Americans' vocabulary in the sense that we use it? I'm not seeing it outside of our meeting, if you know what I mean. And are we anticipating it's going to be a key word in Americans' people's vocabulary, or are we trying to make it one, or how do we see that word green, greener fitting into the whole thing? I don't see it in there now, but are we trying to make it become that?
Well, what's your position, George?
What?
What's your position on that word? You like the word or don't like the word?
Well, I like the word, but I don't know if it belongs in here. That's my question.
I think it's in a lot of people's vernacular nowadays. I think so. I think it is. In fact, we've almost talked about it becoming kind of a cliche term. Is it overused? Is it going to run its course before we decide to change our mission statement? So I think it's relevant.
The mission statement has a shelf life too. You should think about it in that context. It's not a forever decision.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we've got a motion on the table to let staff make a pick. Now, I have a question about that. John suggested that we would convey our own recommendation as to, but that's not part of the motion.
It's not, because if it's an internal kind of slogan for them to use, I'd like them to pick it. Of the two that we've narrowed it down to 2, I'm comfortable with them picking.
Great.
And I think even if they tweak the words to what's more comfortable for the staff, it's just.
Okay, so we've got a motion, we've got a second, just to send us back to the staff between 3 and 5 to pick. There's no further preference on our part, the way things stand right now. So that's what we're going to vote on unless somebody says something
And
real soon here.
also allowed it to certain degree of tweaking.
Right.
Okay, is everybody ready to vote?
Yep.
Does everybody know what we're voting on?
Yep.
Okay, well, Rebecca, would you call the roll, please?
Galloway.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Gelb.
Yes.
Koenig-VandeHaar.
Yes.
Noland.
Yes.
Cahill.
Yes.
Krumrey.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Feltner.
Yes.
Chen.
Yes.
It is approved. So I think we're done with item B.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, that takes care of the board action things. I know some of you need to leave early, so whenever you need to go, just go ahead and go. Those are the two real important things. But next we'll move on to receive and file item C, the Franklin Field landscaping plan. Now let me preface that with my own comment here. Of course, you all know the background of this situation, what the city council did. But as part of the city council's action, they said, well, the park board could review the landscaping plan. And that's why it's back here. Now, what does review mean? Well, review can mean whatever we want it to mean. On one end of the spectrum, we could receive and file tonight and discuss it, and then have a full board action next month with a formal vote. If you wanted to do things that way, that could be our review. Or we could just talk about it tonight and make a list of our comments, submit those to staff and the developer, and say, well, that's our review, and then we're done with it. No formal vote for board action. Or another option is we could kick this to a committee of our board to study it and come up with recommendations. So we have flexibility. I know some of you don't want to spend another minute on this. Other people may have a lot of comments, but let's just throw it open and see where it goes here.
I have one concern, or one question, or both. During this process, there was a procedure that they had to go through to see if there were, how many senior housing units were in Northwest Des Moines. And if there were too many, this was not a viable idea. Have they gone through that process?
I'm going to attempt to answer that based on my recollection. Ben, if you have a different, or Kevin, a different recollection. My recollection is that question of marketing, whether or not there was market to drive this project, was in the context of their application for tax credits with the state. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't happen until they've developed a site plan that has been approved by the city. So the sequence is site plan gets approved, the city agrees to the zoning, and then they go to the state, which is in March, I believe. It's later this winter, and present this with their case that they've developed through their market study. So the planning and the approval of zoning happens in advance of that, because they can't submit the application to the state without that having been done. And the state ends up being the final test on whether or not they've met their benchmark for market data. Now, having said that, that then means that even though zoning and plan get approved, the project may never get built if they don't meet that benchmark. So maybe to your concern, Susan, there's still that process that has to happen yet. That'll still have to be evaluated.
Okay.
Isn't this HUD senior low-income housing? And I can tell you, my father lived in a HUD project. He just moved to a nursing home, and they're in demand, great demand. As seniors get up there and they're living on Social Security, and it doesn't cover the costs.
I understand.
You know, these
that,
are just.
But it was how many units were in Northwest or in Northwest Des Moines already? Because I think wasn't there you couldn't have any more than that was my understanding.
But our discussions on the landscaping, I think they've done a very nice landscaping plan. It appears on this that they have an outdoor area with a pavilion for the residents. That's important.
That's our pavilion.
Yeah, that's our existing.
That's ours.
Our existing structure.
Our existing structure, okay.
They've planned to.
I was looking to see if they had any outdoor area for their residents.
That's ours.
Kevin, you should come to the podium, and Kevin's the most familiar with the plan and the most competent on our staff to.
Chairman Galloway,
discuss it,
members of the Park and Recreation Board, Kevin Moran, Parks Manager. I've got the, Rebecca, turn this on here, throw that up there. In your packet was given to you is the conceptual plan here, and as what Board Member Jensen was saying, the pavilion here, this is the existing pavilion at the site there, and what they've done was they incorporated so it looks like it's part of their overall site. So they did kind of make it fit into it, so it does work well for both the public as well as the residents of this facility. The other thing there, is a parking lot, and then of course the community gardens, which are down in this area here, and then the access, which we are working through for the community gardeners to be able to come through, park on that lot, be able to access their gardens there. And as stated in the Blue Letter report, there are some of those concerns that we're working through with the developers of this site to make sure all our concerns are addressed.
So I would certainly hope that they have adequate outdoor area for their residents to sit and visit and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah, I think they're also counting on, if you can tell, they did a nice little walkway here that just ties right across the front, and then this is the same walkway that, if you continue to the east, ties right into the Northwest Community Center, as well as leads right to Franklin Library. So they've got that nice walkway that just really ties all the sites together, which was, I believe, a really nice design.
Okay.
Susan, did you have a question, or?
Yeah, so we're just doing bushes, trees, and flowers here?
That's the, I believe the intent is just to.
Why don't you point out where those are, so everybody's aware.
What you've got is you've got a few trees planted along Franklin Avenue here that make a nice accent for the street. And then along the front of the building and along all the sides of the building, they're doing a nice landscape plan with shrubs and some smaller trees. They do have a row of some shrubs and other trees to the south of the and around the parking lot. Probably due to the city standards of landscaping a parking lot, you have to do it internal as well as screening it. One thing we are looking towards to mention with them is we want to have some more access between the parking lot and the gardens here, so that the gardeners are not walking through that plant bed, and so we'll get through that process with them. Over to the west is their detention basin, and they're obviously screening that here from the existing neighbors with some evergreens and some other larger shade trees. So all in all, I think they're meeting the standards of the city.
Where can gardeners park their cars?
We are working with an easement on the site so they can access it from this location and be able to park along these south parking stalls. And then there's also the little access here for us to get into our area back in this direction where we have our compost. We have some dumping areas that we've got to clean up. The gardeners also have the use of the parking lot over onto the east here with the Northwest Community Center. So we're having really good access. It's probably going to be a lot easier for gardeners to get to their plots, a lot shorter walk for them to get to it and be able to do what they need on a daily basis.
I like that idea really pursued. Not only the existing pavilion, also has some benches around the facility, the building, so people can, for good weather, days that people can sit outside.
Yeah, that's correct. We've got, I believe, 6 tables out there that it is nice to have this kind of activity that would really activate the site with the gardeners, and between all 3 sites, I think it's going to be a really nice, tie-in. I should also mention that the existing trees on site, some of the smaller ones that we did plant a couple years ago, we are going to tree spade those off the site and into the cemetery. because they are small enough. There are some larger trees along Franklin Avenue that will be mitigated as part of the rest of the tree planting. So we are going to move as many as we can that are in that site there.
Other questions, comments? Okay, what are your views? Should we bring this back next month for a vote? Is there anybody who wants to do that?
No.
Nobody wants to vote on this next month? Okay, does anybody like the idea of a committee studying this and coming back? Nobody likes the committee idea? So it sounds like we're just voting to receive and file. And as far as what's been, the comments that have been made, has somebody, Don, or has somebody made note of those?
Yep, we got them.
So it sounds like that will be our review. Is that what everybody thinks? Okay, so last call for any comments. And otherwise, we're done with our review. Okay, let's vote to receive and file then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is received and filed. Next, we'll move on to receive and file item D, Park Spotlight at Columbus Park.
Larry Burt, who has been an outstanding supervisor for our department for many years. I won't go into how many, maybe Larry wants to share that, but he's had a number of jobs with the city, and he is currently our supervisor on the south side of Des Moines and the west side of Des Moines. One of his responsibilities is Columbus Park, and this month we wanted to spotlight Columbus and ask Larry if he would give a few a bit of background on the park and how he sees it from his eyes.
Chair Galloway and the Park and Recreation Board, I'm happy to be here to talk about Columbus Park. I will start down the right side. One thing this park has that a lot of our neighborhood parks don't have is off-street parking. So you can have various venues there. We have a small shelter there that gets used a lot. I'll move on to new refurbished basketball courts. We just put state-of-the-art post and bank boards and baskets on it in the last year. It's one of the nicest ones in the city. We're proud of that. I'll move down to the sports field. We're going to slice and seed and overseed because it's used for football, soccer, and used a lot. The existing restroom there, we just replumbed it, and as we speak, it's being painted and refurbished so it can be open next year and be beautiful and not maybe the little bit of eyesore it was. The existing wading pool, it gets used. The playground, used a lot. Then I'll move tennis courts. We even have some of our tennis court programs there. It's a good tennis court. It's in good shape. We removed the old dilapidated bocce ball court. It's proposed to put a new bocce ball court in there, and it's out to bid. Personally, I think it's for a small park. For us, it's one of the nicest ones we have. It's probably one of the oldest, but one of the nicest ones. And it's used a lot by the people.
It's got a historical affinity to a lot of people on the south side. It's a pretty significant. Just about everybody who's anywhere near the south side probably had a child who practiced baseball or football on that turf field. And you know, for the 20 years that I've been here, you can drive by in the fall and see somebody out there practicing football. So it takes a beating. Larry's right. And it's got quite a history. This park was at one time the home for the Italian American Festival for years, right in the neighborhood. And it outgrew that, as you might imagine. But it's got a lot of history. near St. Anthony's Church and School. They've used it a lot for their programs too, and it's been tired. It's kind of typical of some parks on our system that haven't had the upgrades, but we're getting there. As I won't reiterate, but because Larry's hit it really well, we're in the process of most of the things getting a facelift, where I'd say within 18 months to 2 years, it's going to have a real new look to it.
In fact, I played Pee-wee baseball in that corner over here. Long time ago.
Right.
Does anybody have any questions about the park?
Several years back, I had some complaints about baseballs being hit on houses, but I haven't heard any of those for a long time, so.
We did.
We
You
seem
have
to
a good memory, Susan. We did over it's the right side of your drawing where the red line is over there. There's a backstop on the bottom of that, and or to the opposite field next to the tennis courts. And our ball fields in parks are limited to softball, and hard baseball is not permitted. That's not to say it never happens, but we had an issue with that from time to time. We do, because we are really close to our neighbors, but we've had a good relationship with the neighborhood. In fact, the former police chief lived right on the boundary there for a long time, and we installed some security lighting along there at one point. But the neighbors, it's very apparent that our best eyes and ears on our properties are our immediate neighbors, and we have worked really hard to keep them satisfied and happy with their neighbor. If you don't, it's a problem. And you can't say that, well, this is a park that serves a lot of people. You can't ever be sensitive to how these people are impacted. If you're not, they're not going to be your supporters. And so we've made amendments over time to try to accommodate those concerns.
I think it's a unique little park, and I have the opportunity to drive by it, on occasion, and I'm always amazed. It always looks so nice, and I see activity going on there. But I know that neighborhood is changing. There is more rental housing, I believe, going in that area, and I don't know what that impact is going to be. And I think the city has future plans for that neck of the woods. And I think as our Riverwalk goes along, as you see the popularity of restaurants along that area, it may become, a much more desirable area to live with its proximity to downtown and the availability of good housing at a low cost. So I'm just always amazed at how nice that little park always looks when I go by.
Thank you. Well, the thing nice about that park, it's used a lot. And it seems like if a park gets used a lot, it gets maintained even by the people better.
Yeah.
An empty park doesn't get maintained.
No, you got that right on the nose. Yep.
Is that Jackson right outside off the off-street parking, or am I?
The cross street is not Jackson. It's, off Southeast First there by the Belizzi McRae American Legion post is right across the street from the parking lot, right off of First.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that cross street is. That sounds right. Dunham?
Dunham,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Jackson's 2 blocks over.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Go ahead.
I do have another question. The wading pool, I know that's probably way down low on the totem pole to get redone.
No, actually, it's coming up, I
It
think.
is?
Larry, do you know, or Richard, do you know what the schedule is on that?
There's a proposal to put a water feature in the park, and the proposal is that the wading pool would come out.
Yeah, it'd be a above ground, not as large as Ashby, but the one we've done at Woodlawn, I think, is an example where you've got some above ground spray that you can actually operate through push button.
Yeah,
that
that's
does not
correct.
require a wading pool attendant. But you want to explain the program?
Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Kevin Moran, Park Manager. What we're looking at is taking that water wading pool and making it more of a splash pad, where then the person or the patron can activate, kids can activate a button, spray features can go, and that then will drain across the ground and penetrate as much as we can into the ground before it goes into the sewer. And so what that allows us to do is have that button operate from 6 a.m. to about 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and Monday through Sunday. You know, there's no attendant, so we've really kind of opened this up. And we're looking at adding a lot of these. Another park we're looking at doing it is McHenry. And so this is one of the first ones we're looking at. It's similar to Woodlawn Park, except it's going to have more spray features, and we're looking to see how those come off and work out well. We've already been to the neighborhood, and the location is probably going to be more closer to the existing shelter and the parking lot. And then we're also looking at doing some connections through the park so that we can connect all these with a walkway to the restroom facility, because we're always getting questions about if I got to park, I got to walk through the grass to get to the restrooms. And so we'll take a look at other areas as well. The playground is now on the southeast corner. Does that make sense to move it? And as the park, as you mentioned, the neighborhood changes, so does the park. It evolves, and so that's what we're looking at.
Do you have a cost estimate on those splash pads?
We're looking at roughly, about $150,000.
So they're much cheaper than what we were looking at for wading pools a while back.
Well, they're much different. They're very different than the full novelty pool that we have at Ashby or at Union, for instance, and much less expensive because you're not treating water and filtering it, and you're not creating standing water. It's more like the kind of spray features you see at the state fairgrounds, for instance, that they've done. But the benefit of it, on the other hand, even though it's got probably accommodates less people, is, as Kevin said, it's available, 16, 18 hours a day, the full season, without needing to staff. And it's not to say we won't staff something here, but the staff here might be able to do some recreation programs and some environmental education things and programs of that nature. So we think it's a good design. The big full novelty pool is just not affordable in 15 locations in Des Moines, where this fills that void.
And the sprays go off then
Push
manually by someone?
You activate a button that opens a valve, and it's basically opening the water line, and then it runs for a certain amount of period of time, and then shuts itself off. So if there's nobody there at the park, the water's not running, and so there you get those days where it's cloudy and no one wants to hit the button cold, but then you have other days where it's beautiful and you get a lot of people out there. So we're looking at really trying to expand, and the nice thing is, Don says, we don't have to chlorinate the water, we don't have to have somebody treat it, check it every 4 hours or so, and so that saves on staff time. And then we're going to, as I mentioned before, is try to percolate that back into the ground before it enters the storm sewer. So.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, good report, Larry, and good comments, Kevin. Okay, is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Whoever.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is received and filed. Next, we'll move on to receive and file item E, budget discussion.
I have just a comment with some information and then a question for you. This was put on the agenda at the time. I really wasn't sure what might be available to you in terms of sharing our budget reductions. I've been asked to submit reductions of $1,060,000 for next fiscal year in Parks and Recreation. I don't know that all those will be accepted. The city manager is trying to create a war chest, so to speak, of money available to balance the city's $7.7 million deficit. And I'm in the process of generating that. It's not completed. I just don't have enough money to do it very easily. It's the short answer. It's an onerous task. But here's what I want to share with you. There's a very important meeting tomorrow night, I think you're aware of, that I really encourage your attendance. It's at 6 o'clock at the Botanical Center. There's people watching this tonight. I would implore people that have an interest in our services to get to the Botanical Center at 6 o'clock tomorrow night for this public discussion. The reason it's important for you to attend is that you'll have a chance as citizens to evaluate the varied services that we provide and provide a rating for the park board and the staff and the city council to look at of medium, high, or low in terms of our services. So there will be some reduction, and we'd like to make those reductions in a way consistent with what the citizens want to see. So that meeting's important tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at the Botanical Center. Will last until about 7:30. Now, on probably about the second meeting in November at a council budget workshop, the City Council will be in a position to hear the city manager's recommendations on reductions to the city budget. I'm surmising based on dates that I've seen. There's nothing certain in this. But here's my question for you. I'll hear a few days ahead of time as to which of the recommendations that I've suggested, our staff has suggested to him. I'll hear which of those are going to become public. And I'd like some feedback from you as to how you'd like to learn about that. Now, let's say, for instance, that there's a budget discussion on November 21st, which is a Monday, and you've got a park board meeting the following Tuesday night. You know, you may read about it, frankly, in Tuesday morning's paper. If you'd like me to try to contact you the weekend before this is discussed and talk to you personally, I'll do that. I just don't want you to be in a position of not understanding the reduction that's being recommended and hearing maybe some of our rationale behind it. It's a bit of an awkward situation, I think, for you. And so if you're okay with hearing it as the community hears it, and then having me come at a later meeting and present to you our full depth of thinking behind that proposal, that's what we'll do. If you'd like me to call all 15 of you personally, I'll do that. If you'd like a special meeting immediate to that time when it's discussed with council, I'll do that. I want to make sure, and I'm being probably a bit more probing this year about process with you, because what you'll see in the way of reduction recommendations are a bit painful. And they'll be different maybe than what you've experienced the last couple times around, in that you'll see some services that'll be diminished. So I think you have a right to hear that. You may be called by the media and asked to respond. So I'll stop there and maybe hear from you as to how you'd like me to handle communication with you.
If we had a special meeting, would any of our comments or concerns be relayed on?
Absolutely, and I probably should have clarified that that's not the end of the process. Right. You know, you will have a significant opportunity from the time the city manager, remember, that's this is his recommendation based on my feedback, and I hope you understand that my feedback is based on things you've been saying to me too, so it's not in a vacuum. But at that point that he recommends to the council, they don't have to adopt a budget until March. They'll probably try to do it in January, late January or February, so there'll be a lot of time for you to, in your regular meeting, to debate it, or a special meeting to debate it, write a letter, attend meetings. That's not your last chance. I'm more concerned about the nature of the timing of announcement of a recommendation to close something, for instance, or make a major policy change in the way we deliver service, and you sitting here in an appointed position of some responsibility and not have a lot of background. Because, you know, the proposals there are thoughtful. You know, we've tried to consider, all right, if we make this change, here's how we can maybe, this neighborhood loses something in this way, but maybe we can gain something in this way. And you won't hear all that. There'll be more to the story than simply this particular service level reduction.
Don, will you have time to really meet us before you even submit your proposal to manager's office? Because in that way we can support it, the proposal, or we have some concerns and you still have time to revise it.
If you want to do that, that'll happen tomorrow or Thursday or Friday. Mine are due to him on Friday. Beyond that, he's not going to do anything with those for a couple weeks, so it could happen in the next couple weeks also, and I could communicate that to him. I would tell you again that what he's seeing is on the basis of my interpretation of what you've been telling me most recently in the last year or 2 years on our relative priorities. So, Cyndi, I can do that. But there isn't, well, I don't have $2 million for the changes, and I'm picking $1,060,000 from them. I'm not even at $1,060,000. I've not gotten even there yet. So
you really don't have much time to work on that.
And I don't have, I think the options are not plentiful. But again, if you thought it was instructive for you and important for you to have that feedback in advance of a final manager decision, I'll try to meet with you before the manager makes his decision. Now, think about it this way too. Your meeting's a public meeting, and now we're debating in a public setting something that the manager may decide he never wants to do. This is why the process that I've outlined to you has him making his decision before we get people up in arms over something that he's never going to support. Understand? Mm-hmm. I think it's necessary. Otherwise, we start heading down this path, and it's not something that he's going to support anyhow.
I'm going to be in New York City tomorrow night, so I can't be at the meeting. But I did go to the public hearing last week, and if you can go, I think it would be worth your time just to be there as part of the Parks Board tomorrow night to support Don and his staff when they're talking about the department and what they do. Don, I think as we look at our role as advisory, and it does, kind of put us, I think we're going to have to be reactionary to what happens. And we can each individually talk to our city council people about what we feel. We can discuss it at the table, but I think for you to try to give us the information before is kind of awkward for you under these circumstances. I think we all know, we're all very painfully aware that the city's going to run another budget deficit, and we're another round of cuts, and raising taxes doesn't seem to be something anybody wants to do anymore. And yet, so I guess it doesn't bother me that I might wake up and read it in the newspaper, because I think it's an awkward process, and we can react afterward, and we can send our concerns on to the city council after that.
Well, I was probably too literal in that. You'll hear it before it goes to the newspaper, because I can walk out of a meeting with the council and contact all of you instantaneously now and tell you this is what was presented. Yeah. So you won't be totally surprised, but it's I don't want to recommend something that I find out a week later a strong majority of you oppose as it comes to this budget. Because there are other options. What I'd like to be able to do at that juncture is to say, okay, if we're not going to do this, then I have to do this over here. And it may be, in fact, it may be that you think that's less of an issue. I'd like to have that discourse. So there'll be some kind of conversation of this nature about these options, but boy, there aren't a lot. I mean, I'm going to tell you, at $1,060,000, there are significant reductions in service and changes the way service are delivered in a few particular areas. It's not everything. I've tried to maintain the integrity of the core services that we have, and I think we're going to be able to do that. But there will be some things that have to change significantly, like hours of operation, maybe for some facilities that are open now that won't be open in the future.
Okay. How should we proceed on this? Cyndi, what are your views after you've heard all this?
I know that really it's the time is very short, and I would be very comfortable when you present it to manager. At the same time, keep us in the loop, and so we have some ideas. The proposals you submitted. So.
Yeah, and I want you to also understand, as you hear information develop, if you're not clear and want to have an answer, immediately call me and let's have a conversation about what I'm thinking about and why this idea surfaced and what the full range of the impacts are. And you're not at all, you rarely call me. I mean, you have an absolute right to do that, and if we need to spend a couple hours on the phone talking about it, and you're that interested, I'll do that.
Yeah, I really would appreciate to get the information before it hits news.
Okay.
Yeah, at least.
All right, I think I can promise that, as long as it's not leaked someplace else.
Can you just email it to all of us, and that way you don't have to try to talk to all of us?
Yeah, we can email it
Then we can
and hand
call
deliver
you.
directly those that don't have email. We can do
With
both.
questions.
Yep, absolutely.
Will we have a better sense after tomorrow night where it's going?
I'll have a better sense, yeah. I have another piece of information that'll be coming, that's why I've been trying to get as many people out as possible. Frankly, if only 10 people come out or 20 people come out and respond to park issues, how do I factor 20 out of, but if 100 people would show up, that's a pretty compelling large number. I mean, you usually don't get that kind of number for something like this. So I really do hope that people show up, and if they have a particular interest in a particular service we provide, express that. But it's one piece of it. It doesn't make the final decision. You're talking about it all the time. We do too. But I really like the format that the manager's using this year, and I think it's very instructive, much more so than we've had in the past.
$6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Where is it at?
At the Des Moines Botanical Center. Go around to the side door directly into the Levitt room, which is clear in the back.
I will be there.
Great.
So Don, you're going to submit your information to the council or city manager,
The city
and then
manager.
you're going to just let us know what you submitted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then after we receive this information, we can always call a special meeting. So if somebody thinks that would be a good idea, well, get a hold of me or get a hold of Don or reply all on the email or something and say, I want to have a special meeting, or I want to talk, or maybe not have a special meeting, but I want to talk about this some more, whatever it is. Or it could be that it's not controversial and everybody's relatively, maybe not, happy is not the right word, but people aren't up in arms about it, and so we just don't know. But you don't know how you'll react until you actually see the recommendation. So after you see the recommendation, then if you are up in arms, get a hold of somebody and we'll do whatever once people want to do, have a special meeting or whatever. Does that sound okay with everybody?
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay. And then regarding tomorrow night, I encourage all of you to come. It would be nice if everybody would call 5 people and bring 5 people with them. I realize that may not be realistic for everybody, but bring family members, or spouses, children. It'd be a great educational experience for school-age children. So bring anybody and everybody you can. It's a situation where 10 more people may make a big difference.
Don, is it just Parks Department tomorrow night? It's
Parks and Libraries.
Parks and
Libraries and Human Rights.
Okay.
Yep.
It is educational.
I think so.
For
Yeah.
people who haven't participated before, it is.
Okay, anything further about the budget discussion? Okay, is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is received and filed. Okay, we're done with the voting. Now we'll jump back up to Don's report.
Kevin, why don't you come up and cover your 2, and then we've got others in the queue here ready to go.
Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Kevin Moran, Park Manager. The Public Works Snow Removal Partnership. Again, as similar as to last year, park staff will be assisting Public Works when a snow event is 4 inches or more. This Partnership allows the city to clear all residential streets throughout the city, making it easier for citizens and residents to get to where they need to go. We did this last year. From all the events we had last year, it was actually a mild winter. There was 6 events in which we assisted Public Works and allowed that to be used to get residents around the town. Then we get back to doing what we need to get to, which is our municipal facilities, community centers, cemeteries, trails. And so we again are doing that same scenario this year. I don't foresee any issues. We are taking a look at our existing facilities and trying to determine which ones are going to be cleared this season and which ones weren't. We're working through that process. When I say a facility, I mean more like a park that may not have winter use, but may have some off-street or on-street parking. You might see some lots that are not plowed as usual, and so we're going through that process, and we will bring it back to the board probably next month when we get it all figured out to let everybody know, so that when they see a parking lot in a park that's not plowed, this is the reason why. We're trying to save some time, effort, and funding for the city there. Any questions on those? All right, the next one is in terms of trees that fall down, and can start off as I'm sure everybody remembers, if a tree falls in a woods and no one's around to hear, does it make a sound? I'm not going to get into that philosophical question, but what happens, I'm getting a touch in, is when the tree is actually on the ground, what happens? And what we found is that the dead wood serves as an important role in supporting and assisting ecological processes. The dead wood may be used as a form of a snag, which is a standing tree in which all the horizontal branches are removed or gone. They also provide dead limbs and logs. This all provides habitat for beneficial insects, small mammals, birds, amphibians, and fish. Birds are usually the most common benefactor of the dead trees, as everybody's pretty obvious. They use the snags, the limbs, the logs for perches, foraging, and nesting. However, mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and invertebrates also seek refuge in the natural crevices of the logs. Small mammals might find the cover and relief from a hot midday sun in the dead limbs and down wood, while spiders, beetles, worms, and microbes move and feed within the decaying matter. Additionally, fungi and mushrooms flourish on and around logs, breaking down organic matter and release important nutrients back into the forest ecosystem. Trees that have fallen into the lakes are just as important because they also are a source of nutrients and minerals for the water. They also help protect the shoreline from erosion. Fallen trees form a habitat for tiny aquatic organisms that feed fish, turtles, crayfish, and other critters. Many species, such as frogs, use the downed trees as both a hiding place and a feeding place underwater. Above water, a fallen tree also has another benefit because it can be used as a dock for wildlife. Ducks and turtles may rest and sun themselves on the trunk, while small mammals such as muskrats may use the tree as a feeding space, while osprey may use it as a platform to perch. So when there's a fallen tree, we always take a look at it, and if it's a concern for navigation in the park, we'll remove it. But if it's not, we'll like to leave it lie and let it be used in the forest or the water to provide wildlife and fish habitat. This comes into play as many people drive by Gray's Lake, and as on the western shore, they might see a tree that had fallen into the water. And are probably asking themselves, why doesn't the park department get out there and remove that tree? Well, as I stated above, that is the reason why. We are using the tree as wildlife habitat for both the fish and mammals. And we're also looking to do more of this around the lake. With our REAP grant, as we do the shoreline restoration, we are going to look at redoing some of the shoreline to keep the erosion down, but also place trees in the water. And so we can create that fishing habitat. We want to encourage fishing in that lake. We want to encourage all the wildlife and habitat there as well. So if you see that, those are the reasons, and hopefully you'll be seeing more of that through our system. Any questions?
It's nice to have an explanation of why.
Thank you.
I have a phone call every fall from somebody, and usually once a year. I hope it's not the same person, but I get a call from a person who says, I'm going to do you a big favor. You've got a tree that fell down in ABC Park, and I'm going to take it out for you. I'll come in there with my chainsaw and remove it for you. And by the way, it's normally a walnut. But nevertheless, you know, when I say to them, no, we don't want you to cut it up. We want to leave it there. There's silence for a little bit, and they think I'm kidding. I say, no, this is really good for the park. This is our policy that we leave these down. If they're not going to hurt anybody and it's not a safety condition. And then they get really mad. I called to help you out, and you're not willing to take it. You're whatever. And so I just thought it'd be helpful. Plus the tree that fell down in Grays Lake, I've had more calls about that. Gosh, Grays Lake looks great. Can't you guys get that tree picked up? And I keep telling people, no, it's going to stay there, and the reasons for it. So thanks for the great explanation.
Thank you.
Just makes me feel better about my wooded lot and how I let everything just die and decay there.
There's a natural benefit to it.
Okay, good report, Kevin.
Chairman Galloway, members of the board, Tiva Dawson, Recreation Manager. I'm here to give you an update about the grant we're working on with the DNR fisheries folks for restoration of Greenwood Pond. If you remember, the DNR fisheries we've been working with them for the last couple of years doing evaluation of our aquatic habitat areas, mostly our ponds and some creeks as well. And they sort of settled on Greenwood. I think they came with a recommendation that they'd like to look at Greenwood as one of the first restoration sites. And so they also had some money that they was available, was urban fishery funds. So we commenced in working on a contract with them early part of this summer. They needed to get the funds expended by the end of the fiscal year, the end of June. And at that point, we weren't at a total agreement in terms of strategy for Greenwood Pond. So at that point, they decided to transfer the funds to a different project. But they have reiterated several times that there's been a lot of time invested by the DNR in evaluating these sites, that they're committed to working with the city of Des Moines in doing urban restoration projects. It's kind of a new thing for them. And so when we have more time, we didn't have, both entities were really busy in the summer, so we plan on continuing our discussions this winter, and with hope that the DNR money is still available, we will work on getting something, if not in 2012, by 2013. Any questions? Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Tiva. Good report.
Downtown programming, Tiva.
Sorry. We are still working on agreement with the DCA, and they've done a full evaluation of the draft. They've had their attorneys look at it as well, and then we are touring some of the sites next week to kind of finalize some of the details in the agreement. So nothing's, we're still working on it, essentially. We're still in discussion, but everything's moving forward really well.
It didn't come onto your agenda this month for receive and file even because it's not drafted. It'll come
It's
here.
not finalized.
It'll come here 2 months. So hopefully by November as a receive and file item for action then in December.
You did see a copy of it last time, and after their attorneys looked at it, so far I haven't seen any major changes, so you might be able to, vote on it in December.
Did we do a receive and file last month?
We have.
Okay, so we're just not there with the final document yet.
Exactly.
Yep, and we'll get that to you far in advance so you've had a chance to evaluate it before you're asked to vote on it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tiva.
Chairman Galloway, members of the board, Richard Brown, Park Planner 3. At your last meeting, we talked about we were working to put together a map of Easter Lake and Ewing parks to tie those park spaces together to let the citizens know what is out there, that those two parks actually are tied together, as well as the amount of amenities and different things that are combined between the two parks. So since that time, we've been working with the Polk County Conservation Board and have been putting together a map. So what I've handed out tonight is a draft of that map with a map on one side. On the other side, we're working on text to really let people know the different activities and amenities are out there, as well as showing some of the features on the map. A couple things to point out is we're also trying to not just locate paved trails. We're locating nature trails that exist out there now. Between Ewing and Easter Lake Park, there's quite an extensive system of nature trails that allow people to walk through the woods right now. They're natural surface, either dirt or grass or maybe a little bit of rock. So we've tried to start to identify a lot of those features out there, because as working with Councilman Meyer and a lot of the neighborhood residents that live out there, noticed that not everyone knew what was out there. So we thought if immediate neighbors didn't necessarily know what was out there, a lot of people probably don't. So we're really working to put this together as a kind of a marketing effort to get people out to Easter Lake and Ewing Parks, as well as let people know what's going on out there. So this is our draft version right now, but we will be working to get this towards a final version. And if you're on the tour on Friday, we'll even have a different version by that point as well. So we're working fairly quickly to get that done here as soon as possible and get that out to neighborhood residents, the Conservation Board, businesses, anyone that might be interested in letting people know what activities are offered out at the park.
Thank you for preparing this and handing it out.
Yeah, it's a lot of work goes into putting something together, especially with 1,000 acres of park out here. It's kind of a monumental task to find everything that's going on, but there's a lot of cool things out there. And
any suggestions would be appreciated. We're getting
absolutely
kind of the end here. We'll end up with a map that is foldable, and our graphic artist is working on how to finish that up. But I think it's great because hopefully this is going to do a better job of helping people citywide, but especially in the neighborhood, understand what they have access to.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this?
How will it be distributed to the neighbors?
Depends a little bit on the format of it. I would assume it'll go out through all the neighborhood associations, and we'll try to do some sort of a door-to-door campaign with that and try to elicit their support. But then in addition to that, Carol, we see it being in, you say, like the Casey's down at the corner of Indianola and Army Post Road, and Quick Trip, on Southeast 14th, and of course Des Moines schools through, there's an elementary school, Jackson, they're right on. So we have constituent groups we'll probably send it to. We're going to try to really blanket the southeast side.
Okay, great. Good job, Richard.
This is really nice.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, I like the information in the back is really, interesting. Go ahead.
Chairman Galloway, members of the Des Moines Park and Recreation Board, Ben Page, Assistant Director. Just wanted to remind you guys that this week we do have your tour set up with the City Council. That's Friday. It's going to leave right here from City Hall at 12:30. We're going to have a lot of entertaining, interesting stops along the way that will last till about 5:30 with staff, and we'll be sure to put out some things that you haven't seen, some things that you have seen that are in the works of being built that you've approved and moved on. So it should be a really entertaining day Friday. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, maybe you can talk to Rebecca on the way out to make sure, because she's ordering lunches for you all, so it should be ready to go. Bring
12 or 12:30?
12:30, right here. We're comfortable close, as we talked about, just because we'll have some spots we'll get out and walk a little bit and then come back to the bus. If you need to leave early too, we have made arrangements to have a car that's following us to take you back to the City Hall at that time. So look forward to seeing you all there.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Okay, anything else, Don, on your report? No. Okay, good report. Okay, is there anything else from anybody about anything? Reports of their committees or announcements, questions about anything? Susan.
I just want to say a big thank you to staff. Des Moines Founders Garden Club planted approximately 10,000 daffodil bulbs at Ashfield Park on Saturday morning. And Mike Gall and Julie were just super in helping. Took great care of preparing the soil for us, and we had 2 people there to answer any questions for us and be helpful. And they had to continue today because we had a few leftover bulbs. So anyway, we really appreciate what staff did. Thank you.
That's good to hear. Super. Okay, anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Great meeting.
Rebecca.